morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the world's most exciting classroom. My name is Joe Grabowski, and I'll be your host for today. And it is here. The time has arrived. We've been slowly tracking the Oosterschelde, following it all the way around South America, but we are here. We are in the Galapagos, one of the marquee stops of this incredible journey, if not the biggest, most exciting. The ship is going to spend 3 weeks in the Galapagos. We have a ton of live events planned. We're going to bounce all over the place. It is going to be quite a wild time here on the world's most exciting classroom. I'm going to bring the map up a little bit just to bring you up to speed so you can see where we are, what we've been up to. As you know, if you visit DARWIN200.com, you can find this beautiful map we have here. You can see not so long ago, we left Salinas in Ecuador, and we traveled about 1,000 kilometers across this patch of the Pacific Ocean to the Galapagos Islands, which are part of Ecuador as well, but it really does seem like a completely different world when you're there. If I zoom in a little bit here, you can see a little bit of what the Oosterschelde has been up to. So through here, visiting Isabella, which is the largest island in the Galapagos. It's formed from 6 volcanoes that would have risen from the ocean and kind of formed together to make this really cool seahorse-shaped island. Then you can see that we have the Oosterschelde in San Cristobal right now, which is one of the older islands in the Galapagos. So quick little geography lesson here. The islands here formed over this volcanic hotspot. So this is Fernandina. Fernandina is the youngest island in the Galapagos. The hotspot is right underneath. It's still a very volcanically active island. In fact, it just erupted a few weeks ago here on Fernandina. We've got Isabella here, which is the largest, and it's kind of a conveyor belt that moves back towards South America, back towards the east. So the younger active islands are here. You kind of have these islands in the middle, which are more established, lots of vegetation and life. And then you have these older islands like Espanola and San Cristobal, which are starting to erode and sink back into the ocean. In fact, if you followed underwater back towards South America, you would find islands here that had their time in the sun and have eroded and sunk back beneath the ocean. So it really is an amazing place here in the Galapagos. And we have our expedition leader, Stewart McPherson, with us today. He is in the Galapagos. He's been there for about a week, maybe just over a week. So let's bring Stu in with us right now. Hey, Stu,
Hello.
how are you?
It's lovely to see you, Joe. Lovely to speak to you. How are you?
I am so good, Stu. Not as good as you because you are in the Enchanted Isles. You are in the Galapagos.
Absolutely right. And we have got such an amazing program. This is in many ways the highlight of the entire 2-year voyage. Over the next 3 weeks, we've got 11 Darwin Leader projects. We're going to be beaming live from the field with giant tortoises, with amazing seabird colonies, with unique plants, meeting some of the most incredible conservationists. And we're really lucky. Sarah Darwin, Charles Darwin's great-great-granddaughter, is actually going to be out here with us. So if you join our program, you'll actually be able to speak to her and ask questions and so forth. I've been here for the last week setting up all of the logistics and finalizing the projects. And yeah, everything's ready. So yeah, can't wait to welcome everyone as part of our classroom event.
All right, perfect. And so keep your eyes out. There will be a big update coming out over the weekend, which will have all of the events listed for the week. We're going to go live every single day. We also have events bookended with the Darwin leaders. It's going to be just a lot of fun live from the field. Who knows what's going to happen? Who knows what we're going to see? It's going to be pretty exciting. And so, Stu, you were nice enough to pull together a few things for me here. I've got some video clips. I've got some images. So let's dive into a few of them. A little later in the call, we're going to connect with some of the camera guys on the ship, on the Oosterschelde. We're going to catch up and see how their time has been going. And then we have tons of video clips, the experiment, the curiosity. So a busy time here in the world's most exciting classroom, as per usual. So, Stu, I think let's start with the wildlife, because I think when everybody thinks of Galapagos, they think of the wildlife. So to help us do that, I've got a little video clip here of some of the wildlife in the Galapagos. There's a little bit of music to it, but I can turn it down. So if you want to talk over it at all, Stu,
sure, with pleasure.
can do that. But let me get that video queued up. There we go.
So for
And
those listening, you may be aware the Galapagos is incredibly special. It's known as the world's laboratory for wildlife because these islands have been isolated for millions of years from the rest of South America. So as Darwin saw, you have unique species that occur nowhere else in the world. And because there aren't predators here, they're generally not afraid of you. So many of the animals literally walk right up to you. And so you can be seeing a lot of that over the next few weeks as we explore the islands. So yeah, I think we've got our video next.
all right, here we go.
Perfect. As you can notice, all of these amazing islands are volcanic in origin. And so all of the animals that reached here on land, all of them had to arrive either by air or by sea, on land rafts, on vegetation rafts, for example, floating on logs, or on the wings, on the legs of birds as seeds or little invertebrates. And what that has done is that it's created a completely unique little world of amazing animals and plants, which we're going to explore over the next 3 weeks. These shots here are feeding giant tortoises. We're going to be beaming live from a giant tortoise conservation project. And you can meet the tortoises and see their favorite food, which is these atoi plants right now. As you may know, each island here in the Galapagos had its own unique species. A few of them became extinct, others are critically endangered, but for the ones that are surviving, they're being really intensively conserved. And these are the little baby tortoises munching away on their leaves, or young tortoises, I should say. And the waters around the islands are just unbelievable. They're full of hammerhead sharks, amazing sea lions, and the marine iguanas, these unique reptiles that actually dive down and graze. These are some of the sea lions here. And they're all around the island. Can you imagine living with sea lions literally on your doorstep? Some of them even come into town. So it's pretty cool to see. Oh, back to the giant tortoises again. These guys just love munching those leaves. And we're going to meet some of the conservationists that have worked for years to protect and safeguard these huge animals. Some of them can be up to 180 years old. So it's not impossible that one or two were here actually as hatchlings when Darwin actually came here. It's just about possible that some actually still are alive that were born around the time Darwin's visited. They get to 2 meters, so up to almost the length of a door. They are huge. And the species here include the biggest tortoises anywhere on the entire planet. So they're very, very special. And I've been to a lot of places, but I have never seen islands like this teeming with so much wildlife. So you're going to have an exciting few weeks in store.
Yeah, I can't wait. I think the marine iguanas, the only lizard that goes into the ocean. You've got the Galapagos sea lions, which are kind of their own unique species, small species, can dive 600 meters, hold their breath for 10 minutes. We're going to get to see a lot of this wildlife up close and personal. In fact, when I visited a few years ago, it was the only place I've ever had to step over a sea lion to get into the bank. So it's quite a unique place.
They're all over the piers. And there's even penguins. Can you believe it? Most people think penguins are in cold environments, but it's actually the minority of species that live on Antarctica. Most of them are temperate, but here in the Galapagos, there's even a tropical penguin species. I believe it's the only fully tropical species in the world. It's a little one, very small. I'm actually going out there next week to try and film it for you so we can see it in the next week's World's Most Exciting Classroom event.
Yeah. So, Stu, what I'm going to do is share a few pictures here now. So these are some pictures that have recently come in. And, you always hear about people doing selfies, but I feel like the Oosterschelde has been in a whole bunch of selfies recently with some of the natives here in the Galapagos. Let me make sure I picked the right window. Here we go. All right. Actually, I'm going to zoom up a little bit. I start at the bottom. There we go. So here we go. I think this is Isabella, and I think we've got a few shots here of the Oosterschelde from shore. You can see that beautiful volcanic rock, and then there's a few kind of locals here. We've got a heron species here. We've got the marine iguana here. So, yeah, were you able to get on for Isabella?
Yes, absolutely. This is actually the cameraman. We've got a camera team here filming and photographing the ship, and they tried really hard to get lots of wildlife in the foregrounds because there's just so many animals teeming around the shores of the islands. So you're absolutely right. That's one of the beautiful marine iguanas. They literally will come right up to you. You're meant to keep 2 meters apart from them, but it's actually quite difficult because many of them will literally walk up to you. So we're doing our best to follow the rules.
Have you heard them sneezing on the beach, Stu?
Yes, I believe they expel salt by their sneezes. So yeah, absolutely. They have a good sneeze here and there, especially after their dives.
Yeah, very, very cool. Got some pelicans here hanging out with the Oosterschelde. And the landscapes are just amazing. Like these prickly pear trees almost, they grow so tall.
Yep, and they can be up to 200 years old as well. So as old as the tortoises. This one here in the foreground would easily be 80 plus years. They form that trunk after about 50 years, then grow like a tree. But believe it or not, once they form a trunk like this, the paddles, the blades of the foliage, they actually then have soft prickles because there aren't any predators that can eat them that high up. So they've actually evolved to have soft spines. They're not spiny yet once they get to that height. The trunk is, but the paddles themselves aren't. And that's also thought to enable birds to land more easily on them and pollinate the little flowers. So they're really cool cacti.
All right. And then, of course, we have our sea lions. You really can't go very far in the Galapagos without coming into contact with these guys.
No, they're all over the place. You're absolutely right.
And, just all over the place. They kind of take the place over. All right. And then I think these are a few photos from Josh. So you can see the ship was escorted into its spot here in the Galapagos. That's pretty cool.
Yes. We've had sea lions all around the ship the whole week. There's been loads.
Yeah. And as we're doing this as well, I see a few comments coming in via the chat. Don't be shy. Use that chat. Send in some questions. Now's a great time. We're also going to have an uplink with the ship shortly. But if you do have any questions between now and then, feel free to put those questions into the chat. Some more pictures here of some wildlife with the ship. We got a sea lion and a marine iguana in this one. Not too shabby. And then in a minute, Stu, we're going to switch over because you sent me some great volcano footage. So I'd love to talk about this volcano in a little minute. I'm going to play some video clips. But for the moment, just can't get enough of these shots here. These beautiful sunset shots of the ship in the Galapagos. We've been waiting for this for a long time. Although it goes really fast. All right. So Stu, let's jump into the volcano action. I've got a little bit of a video, but why don't you set the scene? Where is this volcano? Why is it unique? Tell us a little bit about your visit there.
Absolutely. There's actually several active volcanoes across the Galapagos, particularly, as you mentioned, on the Western Islands. There's 2 actually active right now on Isabella. I went up one literally yesterday to the vents, the sulfur vents, to see the incredible fumes coming out of these fumaroles from the volcano. But I think the one you might be showing us is also there's an active one literally releasing lava literally as we speak. I believe that's also on Isabella, a bit further to the north, but I couldn't get anywhere near that. There's restrictions on land about how close you can get. So yeah, it's an amazing island. In 6 years ago, 4 new square kilometers of land were created on Isabella alone because of the volcanic activity. So, we think of islands as lumps of rock in the sea, but here in the Galapagos, the islands are very much still being made. And every year or two, with these new eruptions, more and more land gets expanded out from the sides of the volcanoes, and as the islands grow.
All right. We've got this little video clip here. To start it, there's some special guests with us. So pretty lucky that you get to be there with your kids, which I'm sure they're having an absolutely incredible experience there. So we'll see that little clip, and then there's just a little bit of kind of B-roll that you shot for us. You can talk over that too as well. So let me share my screen. Volcano 1, here we go.
Welcome to the Galapagos Islands.
Welcome to the Galapagos Islands.
We're going to be beaming live every single day over the next week as part of the world's most exciting classroom from locations right around this amazing group of islands. We're going to be exploring some of the most spectacular wildlife this archipelago has to offer, as well as showcasing some of the work that the incredible conservationists here are undertaking. And of course, we'll be showing you amazing landscapes.
Like this.
a sulfur volcano.
Where are we, guys?
In the middle of a
In the
volcano
middle of a
crater.
volcano crater, as you can see, and the sulfur isn't actually burning. Like, it's hot if you touch it, but there's just holes and steam coming out.
That's right. So join us as part of Darwin 200's world's most exciting classroom and be part of our amazing adventure here in the Galapagos Islands.
All right, so we're switching to a little landscape stuff now, Stu.
Perfect. So this is in the south of Isabella. There's 5 main volcanoes across the islands. And as you can see, this is actually within the crater itself. You have this amazing white ash in the foreground, then the volcanic basalts and the volcanic, the solidified lava, then the crater walls. And literally just 24 hours ago, my 2 children, Louis, Jasmine, and I climbed up to see these amazing bright yellow landscapes. The sulfur actually condenses as the fumes come out of these fumaroles, these vents. The sulfur then crystallizes and just basically condenses out of the fumes because it loses temperature so quickly. And all of the rocks all around the area are covered in these bright yellow, spectacular crystals. So it's pretty amazing to see, pretty incredible to see these fuming, steaming vents all over this interior of the crater. So it really is a very, very active, volcanically active region.
How was the smell, Stu? Was it strong?
Oh, sorry, I should have mentioned that. If any of you haven't ever smelt a volcano or a geyser before, this is going along the crater rim. If you haven't smelt it before, it smells really strongly of rotten eggs. That's hydrogen sulfide. That's part of the fumes that are being released from the volcano. So if you've ever had a really stinky, smelly, rotten egg, that's exactly what the fumaroles and the volcano smells like. So it's a bit of a smelly place to be, but it's so worth it because it's such a beautiful, spectacular landscape.
All right. So, Stu, I've got a question that's come in here about the Darwin leaders. I'm wondering if they're on board already, and maybe if you can just touch on the projects coming up for this week.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're here in the Galapagos for 3 weeks. The first week, we have 4 Darwin Leader projects. The middle week, Joe's coming down, and we're actually sailing all around the archipelago, specifically to beam live every single day from different places around the islands to show you some of the most amazing places around the archipelago. Then the third week, we've got 7 Darwin Leader projects. The Darwin Leaders are actually arriving today and tomorrow. They start their program properly on Sunday. We have, honestly, some of the best Darwin Leader projects of the whole voyage so far, studying giant tortoises, studying marine iguana conservation, studying the conservation of some of the unique plants and invertebrates. Because there's so many big, spectacular animals here. People often think about the plants and the invertebrates. There's some amazing plants called the Solanaceae that are related to tomatoes that are unique here, and also really spectacular beetles. So we've got a project on both of those subjects. We've also got some projects on some of the bird groups here as well, and some of the marine ecosystems as well, including some of the rays as well. So if you stay tuned over the next 3 weeks, you can meet all of the Darwin leaders and ask them questions and learn about their amazing wildlife conservation projects that they're going to be doing over the next 3 weeks.
All right, perfect. Excuse me. Another question coming in here, Stu, more specifically about the marine iguanas. So are they the same species throughout the Galapagos, or are there kind of different species or subspecies on the islands?
That's a really good question. So each island, pretty much every single island, has its own species or subspecies. The truth is they look relatively similar, but on some islands, they're much smaller, and others that have more vegetation and more protection, they get much bigger. Some are different colors. So for example, in Floriana, there's one that can turn even reddish with a bluish section along its back as well. So most of them are black, and most of them do look quite similar, but they also change quite a bit between islands. But yeah, every single island pretty much has its own species or subspecies, and they're really amazing.
All right. Very cool. So I've been lucky enough to visit twice. I remember the first time I saw black ones, and the second time I was very surprised and excited to see ones with beautiful red patterns. And then occasionally you'd see one with the beautiful turquoise mixed in with the red and the black. Yeah, really amazing to see all those colors on the marine iguana.
Absolutely. No, that's so cool.
All right. So I don't see the ship yet, Stu, so we have some time if you want. I've got a few landscapes to queue up. Maybe you can talk about a few of the landscapes that
With pleasure.
you've been able to see. So let me share one more video file here. There it is. All right.
Oh, so these are los túneles. So where the lava reaches the water, it forms this incredible, almost like a maze of the different lava flows. And in between these different sections of lava, there are pools of seawater that get flooded at high tide. And this is honestly one of the most incredible tidal ecosystems I've ever been to. These waters are absolutely full of turtles, of black-tip reef sharks, white-tip reef sharks, stingrays, so many fish species. It is such an unbelievably biodiverse and rich ecosystem. I specifically went there and filmed with a GoPro, and in the next session, we'll actually be able to see some of those amazing marine ecosystems and marine wildlife. This is Kicker Rock, one of the rocks off the coast of Galapagos, and it's famous for really large numbers of hammerheads that swim around this big rock. This is actually one of the an arch of the witches, it's called locally, and also along these islands, even though they're volcanic with black, really dark black rock, the beaches have these incredible coral white sands. And then on land, the vegetation is often, well, each island is different. Some islands are very sparse and just have cacti. Others have not quite rainforest, but humid forest in the higher upland areas, because some of the peaks reach up to 600 meters or more. So the islands are very, very, very diverse in their habitats and their wildlife and their ecosystems.
All right. Come back from there. And yeah, Stu, I want to talk about that a little bit, about those nutrient-rich waters. So we've got those deep currents with lots of nutrients, and when they hit those islands, it's like hitting a wall, and it pushes that cold nutrient-rich water up. We get that upwelling, and that's why we can have all of those amazing species. There's so much nutrients and food in the water. The cold water works for the penguins, and there's even fur seals in the Galapagos, which is pretty incredible.
That's right. I mean, also a part of it is that this big, powerful current comes up the west coast of South America, the Humboldt Current, which probably originally brought many of these animals to the islands, like the penguins. It makes perfect sense because these waters literally come up from the south. But of course, all of these different species have then adapted and evolved locally on the islands. But yeah, the currents are very important for the ecosystems. They bring up nutrients, and the waters around the islands, particularly out in the west, are actually quite cold, even though it's in the tropics. So you have large cold water dwelling species, even though we're at tropical latitudes. So it's a really interesting mix of animals, of climates, of conditions and habitats.
All right. So Stu, another question here in the chat, curious about what islands we think we might visit over the next little while.
We're visiting 4 main islands, San Cristobal, Santa Cruz, Isabella and Floriana. We've got Darwin Leader projects on all 4 of those amazing, beautiful islands. Each one is different. Each one has its own unique wildlife, its own unique landscapes. So over the course of the next 3 weeks, our mission is to try and show you each of these 4 islands and some of the incredible conservation projects and wonderful work that's being undertaken on each of them.
Yeah. So Stu, Floriana is a cool island. I want to share a little story. Years ago, my wife and I visited, I think it was 2021. And they have what they call the post office there. So yeah, it's essentially just a barrel. And, you know, back in the 1800s, when whalers would be out for years, they had no way to send mail back. So they put it in this barrel, this spot on the island, and other ships coming back home, maybe to the east coast of the US, maybe back to the UK, would bring those letters back and deliver them. But that tradition is still there today. You can go, you can write a postcard, leave it in, and other tourists from around the world will flip through. And then if it's somewhere close to them, they will hand deliver those postcards, those letters to the destination, which is pretty cool.
Absolutely. And we'll do that ourselves. I'm going to send you one from the island, Joe, and then we'll see how many weeks it takes to arrive to you in Canada. So it might be a few weeks' time.
A conclusion to that story is we sent one to our kids in 2021. It arrived last week. So
You're kidding.
It takes a little bit of time sometimes, but we sent it in 2021, left it in the barrel, and it arrived just last week, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's incredible. we'll certainly we can give that a go when we're together.
All right. Well, Stu, we should see the ship shortly, but while we have you, let's steal you for 1 or 2 more questions because I know you have to get going soon. So, really quickly here, we'll talk about some of the bird life. So the blue-footed boobies, I think, are pretty popular around the Galapagos. So have you been able to see any of them or see them doing their dance since you've been there?
Yes, they're very, very common. There's 3 species of boobies here: Nazca boobies, blue-footed boobies, and red-footed boobies. The Nazca boobies are white. They're a bit different from the other 2. But the red-footed, the blue-footed boobies, as their name suggests, have these amazing feet that are bright red or bright blue. And it's thought that those feet are used to distinguish the 2 species. So the boobies know which are their partners, and which belong to a different species. There's a lot of them, and we should be able to beam live from a colony or 2 over the next 3 weeks. So they are very common, not just here. Many of the species, the red-footed and the blue-footed, occur right the way around the tropics. They're not endemic to the Galapagos Islands, but no, they're very common here, and we'll see a lot of them for sure.
All right. Another special bird there that displays in a different way, instead of showing off blue feet, has a big, beautiful red pouch they can blow up like a balloon. Have the frigate birds been following the ship around?
They are absolutely everywhere. Frigate birds here are like seagulls in much of the rest of the world. You only see the balloon when we go to the seabird breeding colonies, the frigate bird breeding colonies. So they don't fly with the big red balloon. But yeah, we will definitely be able to film some of the frigate birds and show you some of them. And if we're lucky, we might even be able to get to a colony or 2. There's a big colony at Punta Pit that we'll hopefully be able to visit and go live to. Or at the very least, I'll go and film, then we'll have some clips to show next week. But no, they are very, very common, and they are spectacular. It's mainly the males. They inflate this big, bright red balloon and use that to attract the females.
All right. Well, Stewart, I think we should let you go now. I know you have some things to do today, but we will have our next World's Most Exciting Classroom event. It's going to be Wednesday next week. I will send out an update for everyone because I am flying on Thursday to the Galapagos. I can't wait to catch up with you, see everybody on the ship, and I think we're going to get out there and broadcast some pretty amazing wildlife from the islands right into classrooms all around the world.
Perfect. Lovely to speak to you, Joe. And looking forward to welcoming everyone next week. Some more amazing places around the Galapagos Islands.
All right. Thanks, Stewart. Enjoy the rest of your day. Say hi to your family. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Stewart. All right. So a little beam in there from the Galapagos. As you can see from those pictures, as you can see from those videos, it is such a special, such an amazing place. Like Stewart said, they say stay 2 meters away from the wildlife, but the wildlife don't follow those rules. Sometimes they land on you. Sometimes they crawl right over you. So you can stay 2 meters away, but the wildlife does not follow that same set of rules in the Galapagos. So with any luck, we will see the Oosterschelde join us soon from the Galapagos, and we'll have a little uplink from the ship and catch up with some of the camera crew. While we wait for that to happen, let's do our Kahoot quiz together. So I pulled together a little Kahoot quiz behind the scenes, just a few little questions about some of the features of the Galapagos and some of the wildlife that we did talk about. So in a moment on your screen, you are going to see a link. It is kahoot.it. Then it's going to ask you for a PIN number. And when I share my screen, you will see that PIN number. So let's share that screen here. There it is. All right. So kahoot.it is where you want to visit. And then you want to put in 7743221 is your code. If you're in the classroom and you have a one-to-one device, maybe you've got a Chromebook, a laptop, a tablet at your seat, you can join that way. If not, your teacher could pop this up at the front of the classroom and you could shout out your answers to him or her. I know we have lots of homeschool students that join from home. So if you have a tablet or a phone, you can scan that little QR code and it will bring you right in without having to put that letter or that number code in. We've got some students joining: the clever dragon, the stellar emu, the aquatic newt, the honest wildcat. That's great. Perfect. So someone is asking, is it still possible to apply to be a Darwin leader? Absolutely. We are just getting started, believe it or not. We've sailed over 10,000 nautical miles. We left Plymouth in August. Now we are in the Galapagos, but we will be sailing around the world through the South Pacific, Australia, New Zealand, all the way back across the ocean, around South America again, out to South Georgia, Africa, all the way up the coast and through the Atlantic. So we will not be back in the UK until July 2025. So there is plenty of time to apply to be a Darwin leader. And just because there may have been a Darwin leader from Brazil or Canada or the UK already, doesn't mean you still can't apply. So question about the minerals, the green water in the last photo. Yeah, I think that is definitely due to the minerals in the rock. Can give it kind of that really bold, that really kind of green color. A little different than sometimes you see the water colored because maybe there's a lot of algae in it. But in that picture, that last picture that we shared, I think it is because of the volcanic minerals and not because of plant life in the water. Okay, I think we have a good little group here. So I think we are ready to go for our Kahoot. There are 4 questions today, 2 multiple choice and 2 true and false. That's what I'm looking for. Multiple choice and true and false. You have about 20 seconds for the true and false and 30 seconds for the multiple choice. If you get the answer right, you're going to get some points. The quicker you get the right answer in, the more points you're going to get. But take your time, take a moment, because if you get the answer wrong, it doesn't matter how fast you got it in, there are no points. So here we go. Galapagos. First question. The volcanic hotspot is under which island? Is it Santa Cruz? Is it Fernandina? Is it San Cristobal? Or is it Santiago? So, which island is the hotspot under? Santa Cruz, Fernandina, San Cristobal, or Santiago? You've still got about 10 seconds to get your answer locked in. 3 big islands here in the Galapagos. Is it Santa Cruz, Fernandina, San Cristobal, or Santiago, where the volcanic hotspot is under? All right. Good job, crew. It is Fernandina. Fernandina is the youngest island in the Galapagos. It's sitting right on top of that hotspot. Hence the reason why it's been erupting recently. And so as you're in the west, you have the younger islands. In the east, you have the older islands. And in the middle are kind of the established islands. And eventually, those islands are going to move on that conveyor belt towards South America. They're going to slowly erode, and they will eventually sink back beneath the ocean. So the volcanic hotspot is under Fernandina. That is the youngest region in the Galapagos. All right. What do we got? The Groovy Panda is holding down that top spot. We go to true and false. 4 volcanoes formed together to make Isabella. So 4 volcanoes. Is that true or is that false? Was it less volcanoes? Was it more volcanoes? Or was it 4 volcanoes that formed together to make Isabella? What do you think? True or false? And I see Rodri backstage. Rodri, when we finish our Kahoot, we're going to come visit you for a little bit. Okay, that was false. It was 6 volcanoes that formed and kind of grew together as they formed to make that really cool seahorse-shaped island, Isabella, right next to Fernandina. So it is one of the younger islands in the Galapagos. That puts, the Groovy Panda not letting go. Let's go to our next question. Another multiple choice. Galapagos sea lions, how deep can they dive? Is it 50 meters, 250 meters, 400 meters, or 600 meters? So these sea lions are their own species. They're the smallest species of sea lion, the Galapagos sea lion. They can hold their breath for up to 10 minutes. The young ones love to play in the water when you're snorkeling or scuba diving. How deep can they dive? 50, 250, 400, or 600 meters? All right, good job, crew. It is 600 meters. And then holding their breath for 10 minutes while they're under there and looking for fish and other food to eat. Groovy Panda wants this win, but let's see what happens in our last question. It is a true and false. Marine iguanas are the only lizards that spend time in the ocean. Is that true or is that false? Marine iguanas are the only lizards that spend time in the ocean. True or false? All right, that is absolutely true. Well, I have you here for a second. I would love to share a couple of pictures here really quickly of the marine iguanas, a little bit different than the pictures we saw in the presentation. So let me see if I have them quick that I can pull up handy. Okay, these aren't the exact two that I want, but I do want to share these two because they're pretty good and will give you an idea a little bit of what we talked about. So let me share a different part of my screen here, and let me share those two pictures with you, and then we'll wrap up our Kahoot. So we mentioned that normally you see them, they're this beautiful black color, but on some of the islands at different times of the year, they can have this beautiful red coloration in their skin. And then at the right time of the year during mating season, sometimes you can find them with these beautiful turquoise blue streaks that run across the top of their body, run on their arms a little bit. So the typical black marine iguanas that we usually see in the picture, sometimes you can see them with these beautiful reds, these beautiful turquoise colors. So I wanted to share those pictures there with you. Okay, let's come back from that screen share. Let's get the answer to our Kahoot, and then let's visit the ship for a couple minutes. So there we go. Marine iguanas spend time in the ocean. That is absolutely true. They dive to up to 10 meters to eat algae off of the rocks. Then they have to come warm up. They can't be there for very long. The ocean is pretty cold. They warm up, but they got to get that extra salt out of their body. So if you listen, you'll hear them sneezing salty snot rockets all over each other all day long as they try to get that salt cleared out of their bodies. So let's take a look at our podium. Now that we have finished our Kahoot, in third place, we've got the wise octopus. In second place, the diligent iguana. Maybe that's a marine iguana. And in first place, do we have a change? No way. The Groovy Panda held on to that victory from tape to tape. So if you are the classroom with the Groovy Panda, I'm going to share an email here with you, classroom@darwin200.com. Send us a message. Let us know you are in that classroom, and we will get you taken care of. So thank you so much to all the students who took part in our Kahoot today. Groovy Panda, congratulations. If you're in that classroom, send an email to classroom@darwin200.com. Okay, time to put an end to this screen share. Time to visit another part of the Galapagos. Let me make sure, I still got the music playing in the background. Let's make sure that's gone. And we're going to visit Rodri. Here we go. Let's bring him in. Rodri, how you doing?
Hey, Joe. Yeah, I'm doing good. How are you?
Yeah, man. Good to see you. It's been a few weeks. How's the Galapagos so far?
It's pretty cool. I'll try and show you, but right now we're anchored just off the coast of San Cristobal.
Yep.
Don't know if that. There we are. So we just arrived here yesterday, and I got a chance to go ashore, and this place is insane. There's marine iguanas everywhere. There's sea lions. It's so cool.
Yeah. Do you know which project you're working on this week?
I think I might be on the marine iguana project, actually.
Very cool. Well, I hope that you get into the water, because there is nothing cooler than diving down a few meters and seeing an iguana attached to the rock eating algae. So I hope you get into the water. I hope you get to capture some images like that.
Yeah, that would be so amazing. I mean, so far I've only seen them on the rocks.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right, Rodri. So you had to cross about.
But it's funny. It's funny to see them spitting all of the salt out of their nostrils.
Yeah, absolutely. So Roger, you had to cross about 1,000 kilometers to get to the Galapagos. How was the crossing? Anything interesting, wildlife along the way? Oh, I think our satellite connection might have froze for a moment. So let's see if we can get Rodri back. A reminder, if you do have any questions about... Oh, there we go. I think we've got Rodri back.
Back again.
Perfect. Rodri, I was just asking about the crossing. It was about 1,000 kilometers. How was the sail across to the Galapagos?
The sail, yeah. Yeah, it wasn't so bad. We had we had a bit of wind, but first few days, but then unfortunately the wind left us, as it quite often does near the equator.
Yeah.
And we had to use the engine a little bit. We were missing you, Joe. We could have done with your your muscle power to take the sails up.
I did build up the arms pretty good going through Peru to Ecuador, lifting those sails, taking them down in the evening. It was a good time. I'm looking forward to getting back and scurrying up those masts like a monkey. It's one of the best spots to be in the ship, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What about wildlife? Any whales, dolphins join you along the way?
Oh yeah. We were joined a few times by like a massive pod of bottlenose dolphins.
Yeah.
And that was incredible. They were there must have been over 100 of them, and they were jumping, they were doing backflips. It was amazing. I managed to get some nice shots on the drone of them playing in front of the ship. It was super cool.
Beautiful. And what about Isabella? Were you able to visit Isabella a couple days ago?
Yeah, briefly. Yeah. Isabella is such a... We were only in the port, but it's such a huge island. There's they've got like loads of volcanic craters there and stuff, and I'd love to go and explore, and because I think you can actually walk up to some of them.
Yeah, amazing. Well, Rodri, if it's okay, can you turn the camera on? Let's get another view of the ship in the water.
Yeah, sure. Take you on a bit of a tour.
Perfect.
So here we are. I'll go to the bow so you get a nice view. Hold on.
All right, we're gonna keep our fingers crossed. Sometimes the signal doesn't make it all the way, but so far so good. Looks beautiful.
Nice. Oh, and there's a sea lion there.
Oh, I just did see it pop up.
That.
Yeah, it popped its head up for a second there.
Yeah. The whole time we've been anchored here, we've been surrounded by sea lions.
If you have some time, Rodri, can you throw the ROV in the water sometime?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, it'd be fun to see if they were curious, and we could get some underwater shots of them playing around.
Yeah, I reckon they would. Yeah, give that a go.
Yeah, perfect. Oh, I think that Rodri, can you still hear me? He might be too far away from the modem. There we go. Can you hear me again, Rodri? Oh, he's going back. He's going back to the modem.
Yep.
Perfect. Well, Rodri, I can't wait to see you in a week or so and explore a little bit of the Galapagos. Make sure you say hi to Josh as well. And yeah, enjoy your time out with the marine iguanas. I can't wait to see the pictures and the videos. We'll have to have you share some with us.
Awesome. Yeah. Can't wait to catch up.
All right. Have fun out there. We'll talk to you soon, Rodri.
All right. Speak soon. Bye.
All right. See ya. All right. Perfect. There we go. That was our first view of the Galapagos. San Cristobal is the second oldest island. If you go a little bit south, there's another little island called Espanola. And I was lucky enough to visit Espanola. Let me see if I have a quick picture here from Espanola that I can share with you before we do some experiments together. Oh yeah, here's a couple. Let me pull these 4 pictures up here and share them with you. Okay, I'm gonna do a quick screen share here. So what's really neat about Espanola is there's a species of albatross that you can find there. And I'm gonna share the right window here. There we go. They are the waved albatross. So they get that name because of this wave pattern that you see on the front of their chest. So we were sailing between Peru and Ecuador a couple of weeks ago, and we saw some of the waved albatross flying near the ship. But this is where they come to land, here on Espanola. And so they spend most of the year flying around the ocean. They don't come back to shore. They can land on the water. They hunt for squid and fish and things like that. But then they return to the island each year to mate. And they mate for life. So when you're in the ocean, you'll see them more like this. You'll see them kind of gliding, using the ocean current, some of the wind to stay above the waves. And for the better part of the year, this is what they're going to be doing while they look for food. Then they return to Espanola, the youngest island in the Galapagos, and they look for their mates. So when they see their mates, they're pretty excited. There's a big kind of greeting. They have all kind of calls they do together, raising their wings, but they do this really cool clacking together with their beaks, like they're doing here in this picture, because they're so happy to see each other, to be back together. And they also mate for life. So they come back to Espanola and they're looking for their mate. And then they greet each other like that. And then a little while later, there'll be an egg. And after that, you get here, like this albatross chick, this waved albatross chick. And if you look here, you've got a little sneaker here in the picture. This is one of the Galapagos mockingbirds. So there's 4 species of mockingbird in the Galapagos. Everybody talks about the finches, which of course were important for Darwin, but the tortoises, as well as the mockingbirds, him looking at the way they were different from island to island, also played a really big role in his thoughts on natural selection and evolution. So very, very cool. Okay, let us wrap up this week with some experiments. So you'll remember 2 weeks ago, we did a really cool experiment about colors in nature, colors in wildlife. So I'm going to play the results for that experiment right now.
Welcome back, everyone. Could you work out the answers to last week's questions? How does a cuttlefish change colour so rapidly? And what is the mechanism that enables this colour change to take place? And what about the bioluminescent animals? What causes them to glow? Well, let's look at the cuttlefish first. Cuttlefish, along with squids and octopus, belong to the grouping of cephalopods that actually belong to the family of mollusks. It's astonishing to think that cuttlefish actually belong to the same group as clams, mussels and other shellfish and bivalves, but that is actually the case. Cuttlefish are famous for their amazing ability to change colour in the blink of an eye. They do this by carefully controlling groups of cells called chromatophores in their skin. The chromatophores have different coloured pigments, and the cuttlefish can expand or reduce the chromatophores using their muscles. So the body of the cuttlefish can rapidly change colour, and many naturalists believe that the cuttlefishes can communicate in different ways by expressing emotions through colour. This is also really useful because if the cuttlefish is threatened, it can put on a startle display and deter predators. Or in other circumstances, it can change colours to blend in and camouflage with its surroundings. Which system of primary colours did you think applies to cuttlefish? Is it the primary colours of light or the primary colours of pigment? Well, those of you that answered pigment are absolutely correct. Because of the chromatophores, the colour change of cuttlefish is entirely down to the pigments within its skin. Now let's look at how colour works in bioluminescent organisms. And to do that, it's best to turn down the light. Bioluminescent organisms produce their eerie glow for many different reasons. Some do so to attract a mate, such as fireflies. Others use bioluminescence to attract prey, such as many deep water fish. And some produce sudden bursts of bioluminescence as a distraction to evade predators. All of the bioluminescent animals produce their mysterious glow through chemical reactions, exactly the same as those in glow sticks. Which system of primary colours do you think applies to bioluminescence? Well, there's an easy way to find out by combining the chemicals within these glow sticks. The chemicals are harmful, so you should put on safety goggles and be very, very careful washing your hands thoroughly and making sure you don't get any of the chemicals in your eyes or your mouth. With the help of a responsible adult, cut off the tops of the glow sticks and pour in the liquid into test tubes or flasks. Be careful because the glow sticks actually contain a small amount of glass, so be extremely careful opening the glow sticks and make sure you dispose of all of the plastic and all of the pieces of glass properly. And of course, make sure not to cut yourself. There's a red one in there. And last but not least, a yellow one. So, to find out which system of primary colours applies, let's combine some of our colours. I think first I'll try red and blue. Wow, look, you can see very clearly it's turning paler. It's matching more closely the pigments of light. Well, look, the combination of those two bioluminescent liquids haven't made purple as they would if these were pigments, but they've made magenta. So this is definitely the primary colours of light. Let's try one more time. Let's combine red and green and see what those make. Give it a mix. Well, look, that's yellowish. So we definitely have the primary colours of light applying to this bioluminescence. How did you get on? Let's now find out the answers that you sent in over the last 2 weeks. Thank you for taking part, and see you next time on the world's most exciting classroom.
All right. So very cool experience. Bioluminescence. I was sailing on the ship from Peru to Ecuador not too long ago, and we had bioluminescence in the ocean. So the ship was making a bow wave. It was throwing off big waves of water on each side of the hull, and it was glowing this beautiful, eerie, kind of bluey green turquoise color. That was pretty cool. But then the dolphins started playing in it. So it was the dead of night. You would never see the dolphins, but because they were playing in the glowing wave, their bodies were surrounded by the glowing dinoflagellates, the plankton that was making the bioluminescence. So the dolphins were glowing, outlined in bioluminescence. It was one of the coolest things I have ever absolutely seen. So a reminder that last week's experiment was growing blue crystals. You can find it on the DARWIN200 YouTube page if you want to watch it again. So you still have one more week. If you're in a classroom or at home, you can try the experiment out and send us some pictures. But we do have a brand new experiment for this week. So let's take a look at this week's experiment.
Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're going to explore one of the most extreme ecosystems on the planet, salt lakes. Salt lakes occur in the tropics, subtropics, and warm temperate areas around the world. They're defined by having extremely high concentrations of salt, so much salt that very few organisms can live in the waters of salt lakes. One of the most famous animals that can survive these conditions is the flamingo, which famously has bright pink feathers and filter feeds the water. But have you ever wondered what flamingos eat in these extremely salty conditions and how those organisms survive? Well, today we're going to find out. To complete this experiment, you need a brine shrimp kit. These are very inexpensive and available around the world, both in toy shops and online. Most brine shrimp kits come with a pack of water purification chemicals, the brine shrimp eggs, and a sachet of food for the brine shrimp. Many of the kits come with a little container that you can rear your brine shrimps in, but if yours doesn't, you can use a jam jar. It's a good idea to write down the date when you start your brine shrimp culture, so you can see how quickly your brine shrimps grow. And also, if you record down with the hatch date, how fast they reach maturity after they hatch. My kit requires about 350 millilitres of tap water. So I'm going to pour that in this jam jar here. The next step is to add the water purification chemicals. This basically neutralizes the chlorine in tap water and provides the right levels of salt for your brine shrimps to thrive. Give it a good mix and make sure it all dissolves so you're ready to add your brine shrimp eggs. I'm going to pour in these eggs in next. Generally, you need the temperature of the water to be about 21 degrees or higher, and ideally exposed to some good light levels. That's all of the eggs in the container. Now you're ready for your brine shrimps to hatch. Make sure the liquid in your brine shrimp container stays above 21 degrees centigrade, but not above 28 degrees C. Put it on a windowsill where it's exposed to a good level of light, and within about 24 to 48 hours, you should see tiny, tiny, weeny twitching brine shrimp larvae. Watch them over the course of the next few days and add the brine shrimp food as per the instructions on your brine shrimp kit. In about 2 to 3 weeks, your brine shrimp should reach their adult size. Then we're ready to begin our experiment.
Okay, so there we go. That is our experiment for this week. You'll have 2 weeks to give it a try. Grow some of those brine shrimp on your windowsill, maybe in your classroom, or maybe you'll choose to do it at home with your family. And then you want to send us in some pictures. We want to see some pictures of some brine shrimp at classroom@darwin200.com. So you have 2 weeks to find some. Like Stu said, they're common in stores, very easy to find. You can order them online, probably have them overnight from somewhere like Amazon, and you can grow your own brine shrimp in your classroom, or maybe you're going to choose to do it at home. And so you might have heard Stu mention flamingos in the Galapagos. That might sound pretty strange, but I can assure you it is absolutely true. So here are a couple pictures from when I was in the Galapagos of some of those flamingos. You can see they like kind of these salty areas, these marshy areas where they can filter feed in the water, and they can find those little brine shrimp that they like to eat. They kind of turn their head upside down. Their beaks have little almost strainers that they can use to filter the water and get those brine shrimp. And then that color is transferred, the pigments, into their feathers. And that's why they get that beautiful pink color. So there are flamingos in the Galapagos, which is pretty darn cool if you ask me. So to wrap up for today, we have one more question here in the chat. So this question is about the islands. Some of you may have heard the islands with different names, like Tower, like Charles, like Hood Island, and things like that, and wonder why they don't have those names anymore. Well, those were the old English names that were given to the islands, and this was a long time ago. So the first time the Galapagos were visited was in the 1500s, and I believe most of their names were given around sometime in the 1600s. And so they were a lot of English names. But when Ecuador later claimed them as their own, a lot of the names were officially changed to Spanish versions and things like that. So that's why you'll see, if you go back in time, you'll see that there's different names for some of the islands. But when Ecuador took over the islands, a lot of the names of those islands were changed. Okay. 2 things to do to wrap up today. We'll have to look at last week's curiosity of the week. We have to look at this week's brand new curiosity. So let us look at the answer to our curiosity from last week.
Last week, I asked you to try and identify this strange object here. It's not a type of rock. If you remember correctly, I gave you a clue that it's from a tree. Did you work out what it could be? Well, believe it or not, this is actually a section of resin, or sap, that was extruded out of a giant rainforest tree in Borneo. I found this about 20 years ago in Sapa, Borneo. If you look carefully, you can see how the sap has run down, and this is just a small chunk of it. Probably would have continued far up the tree and far down, but it dried out, became brittle, and then snapped and cracked, and this bit fell away. This actually shows how amber formed millions of years ago, as large amounts of resin oozed out of those trees, solidified, and eventually hardened, were fossilized as the pieces of amber that we know today. Did you identify it correctly? Let's find out now who the winners are from this week's competition. Thank you for taking part.
All right. So we had a lot of guesses come in. A lot of students guessed petrified wood. And don't feel bad about that, because that was my guess too. That's what I thought it was, but it's actually resin. So sap from inside of the trees that was preserved. So we have a brand new curiosity for you this week. This one, it's a little bit of a different angle to it. So let's take a look at it before we wrap up for today.
Welcome back, everyone. This curiosity of the week works a little bit different from normal. In this episode, I'm going to tell you the identity of these plants here and ask you something that you've got to research and find out. These are air plants of the genus Tillandsia. They're a type of bromeliad that grows all the way through the neotropics. That's the tropical areas of North America, Central America, and South America. And these plants are very, very special. As their name suggests, they can grow in air. They do actually have roots, but the roots really only attach the plants to branches or bark or trees, like these ones here that are mounted onto this piece of bark. They can grow without any roots at all and unattached to any kind of substrate with no soil whatsoever. The question that you've got to answer is, how does an air plant survive without any soil or any connection to the ground? How do you think these air plants get enough water, enough nutrients to grow? Good luck, and send in your best guesses and your answers to classroom@darwin200.com. We'll find out the answer next week.
Okay, so there we go. We have identified that item. They are air plants. They are found throughout North America and the tropics, Central, South America. But we want to know how they're able to get nutrients, water, things like that. If they're not rooted into the ground, if they're not getting their nutrients and water through their roots, how are those air plants getting what they need? So you have 1 week for this one. Classroom@darwin200.com. Remember, 1 week for the curiosity. So how do you think that those air plants are getting their nutrients? You then have 2 weeks for our new experiment, which is the growing brine shrimp. We want to see some photos sent to classroom@darwin200.com. And 1 week ago, we had our growing blue crystals, which means you still have 1 week to send in your answers to the growing blue crystal experiment, your pictures, to classroom@darwin200.com. So we are in the Galapagos. We have a lot coming up. There'll be a big, big update coming out over the weekend, because we will have a World's Most Exciting Classroom event on Wednesday next week. And we will be somewhere live on San Cristobal. So tune in for that. Then I will fly to the Galapagos on Thursday. And the following week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we will go live every single day from somewhere in the Galapagos. Maybe we'll be with giant tortoises. Maybe we'll be with a seabird colony. Maybe we'll be out on the beach with the sneezing marine iguanas. Who knows? So all week long, we'll have those live events. And then we're in the Galapagos for 1 more week after that. And we'll have, of course, another special live event for our World's Most Exciting Classroom event. Thank you so much for joining us today. Joining us for our first peek at the Galapagos. We met Stu, and he's on his way to visit a spot right now with his family. We caught up with Rodri on board the ship. They are anchored just off of San Cristobal, and we have so much more coming your way. We can't wait to see you on Wednesday. Keep an eye out in your inboxes for a huge update on everything we're going to be getting up to and how you can join us live. Tune into the recordings afterwards, of course, but it's always just a little bit more fun if you can make it live and be here with us. So last thing we need to do today, of course, is a big shout out to our sponsors, to our supporters. Without our sponsors, without our supporters, there's no way we'd be in the Galapagos right now with the beautiful tall ship Oosterschelde. So that's how we're going to sign off for today with a little shout out to our sponsors. Thank you so much, everybody, and we will see you on Wednesday.